Yeah, YouTubers, Tasman here, bringing you another episode of Fantasy Grounds from the ground up. And in our last episode, we learned how to download Fantasy Grounds, some very basic configurations, how to update it, a little cheat on so if you're streaming it, you can actually have a window open that is being streamed that doesn't show all the secret stuff of being the GM. And we launched Fantasy Grounds and got to right where we are here. So we're going to go into more depth here. In-depth information. I don't know how to say that. But anyway, the first thing, I usually don't care about this. We're going to go through this, but usually I just say don't show on load. Because I rarely use this, and what we're going to do is going to be going into all this stuff anyway. So as you can see, there's the first page that comes up here is your user manual, your wiki user guides, the forums, and gives you a little bit of information on accessing purchase data. You click next, and then it finally starts saying, okay, let's get some of your modules loaded. So if we want the SRD, the 5e core rules, the basic rules, or all rules, we can choose these and it will set them up to load for us. And then we have our options, which is the same thing as going into our options gear here, where we can set up things such as what buttons appear on our sidebar. What about critical hits? How are those? Actually, is that a module? Trying to remember. That might actually be the module I use for that does the critical hits. But anyway, you can set up everything to do with the players and the GM rules and stuff like that, and table basic settings. You can set up your currencies. You can set up your languages. You can, lots of stuff. We're going to be going into that. And then finally, you click finish, and it will go make all the changes it needs to. So let's go ahead and just go over the interface. I know in the last episode, we actually kind of just quickly said things about this. But we're going to start here and kind of work counterclockwise, I guess. So first we have here this area up here that you can't see, but if we mouse over it, this is where people that connect to your table, it will put their little portraits or their avatars or whatever you want to call it up in here across this bar here. We can unlock this by clicking on it, and once we've unlocked it, we can actually move it, which is kind of, you just grab it and then you can move it around, and then we can lock it back. This will reset the position to its original location, and then we can lock it so it doesn't move around. This next piece right here, we can also unlock and move this if we want it. So if we right click, we'll get this little lock here. It doesn't actually do one there. We can clear the chat, which is all this information that's just showing the stuff that's loaded. So we can clear that, and that's good. We can do a prompt icon, and we can halt halt, basically draw attention to it. But if we unlock this position, now you can see we can actually move this. We can also, line it up there, and then we can move our mouse somewhere around the corner here and get the diagonal one, and we can actually make it larger, smaller. That's the smallest it goes, taller and shorter, fun stuff like that. Let's just go ahead and do, let's just do the small. That's fine. Then we right click and we lock it back into place. So this is your chat window. This is also where rolls happen. So if you pick up a die and you throw it in that area, you'll see we rolled a 2. If we want modifiers on that, that's where this little window comes in. Let's say we want to roll with advantage. ADV is advantage. Throw that in there. It turns into 2 dice automatically, and it will keep the highest of the 2. Same thing with disadvantage. Take it, roll it, and now we keep the 4. Right? Advantage will always show as a green die. Red will be the disadvantage. And then, of course, black will just be regular rolls. Now, you probably know this, but you can't actually roll advantage or disadvantage with any other die than the D20. It's only a D20 thing. Then we can add in a custom modifier. So like if we wanted to say, okay, well, we're rolling our D20 and we have a +8 modifier. If we roll that now, whoops, we're doing advantage again. You can see we did D20. We rolled an 18 plus 8 gives us 26. There, now we're not rolling with advantage. And you'll notice it also clears that out. These little guys over here usually are to represent cover. So if they have partial cover, you get a +2. So it's just a real quick way. The same thing if you type +2 here. That will automatically add +2 to our roll. So we rolled 12 plus 2, get 14. These, I recall they actually will work with this because it's just looking at modifiers. It's not actually looking at these as cover. They're just modifiers +2 plus 5. So you have partial cover and then half cover. If you are the one benefiting from it, then of course you'd use the plus. If I were attacking someone behind partial cover, then I'd use the -2, or half cover, I would use the -5. So hopefully that makes sense. Once again, these are a little tricky, but you can actually unlock this and move it around as well as your dice. You can actually click on those, but they're actually really finicky where you grab it. And usually I can't find, maybe that's not in this one. Exit set. Yeah, maybe that one's not here. If you start getting your dice all over the table and stuff like this, oh, that's actually new. You could end up getting your dice all over the table, but then I guess you don't even need to worry about it. It used to have a thing that would reset your position of your dice. I guess I haven't played with that part. All right, so anyway, then you have your dice. You might have noticed that if I right-click on a die, I can also tell it how many I want to use. So if I wanted 2 20-sided dice, this is not with advantage or disadvantage. This is going to roll 2 20-sided dice and actually add their values together. So 20 and 12, so we get 32. We can do that, or if we pick up a dice by left-clicking, then we can right-click and get 2. And we can do this up to, I believe it's 60 is what the count was. Let's see if I can do this quick. I'm not the fastest. But it will tap out at about 60 dice, I believe. Which is, I think, that. So if we roll out here on the table, it will not actually total anything up. And you can see it just was a waste of 60 dice. But if we roll it inside here, it actually, inside the chat window, it does total them up. So you do have quick options. We can right click and say I want to roll 20 20-sided dice, and there we go. We can do, there's various other ones. Let's go and just clear this real quick. Oh, that's actually resetting that value. I need to click up here. Wasn't that it? I'm negating values. Right here. Nope. There we go, finally. So sometimes finding the spot. Now you can actually use commands. We could have actually done CLEAR like that, and it also will clear the table. Under the 12-sided dice, if we pick that up, we can see we have the exact same options. This is going to be a little different with the, actually I didn't want to do that there. So with the 10-sided dice, we actually have an additional option to roll percentile dice. So if we click on that, you can see that only one of them went into there. That's okay. Keep grabbing it. So if I right click, say percentile, throw it in there, you'll see that we got a 43, right? 8-sided dice, once again, we have those standard options. 6-sided dice actually does have a second option called custom dice. Where you can click that, and this is a D0, D2. I don't know why you'd need a D0, and a D3. So this is basically flipping a coin. If we take that one and do it, you'll see, even though the dice shows that it's a 5, it's actually calling it a 2. So what it does is it takes your it takes 3 of the numbers and represents those as a 1, and then the other 3 numbers are represented as a 2. So, for example, a 5, it could be that 4, 5, and 6 are 2, 1, 2, 3 is 1, or it could be 1, 3, and 6 would be 1s, and then 1, 3, and 5. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, it does it. It knows how to do it. And then finally we have our 4-sided dice, which also has those standard options. Down here we actually have our hotbar. So you have 12 options just up front. If you hold down shift, you'll see that everything changes to an S1 through 12. If I hold control, it'll change to C1 through 12. If I hold alt, it will change to A1 through 12. If I hold such things as combinations as shift and alt, we'll get SA1 through 12. Shift and control, we get SC1 through 12. You get the point. So we can also do all 3 of them and get SCA 1 through 12. So you can get lots of different combinations for your little hotbar down here. Now, what can we do with the hotbar? Well, we can actually, let's say we're rolling a character. We can actually grab 4 dice and put them right there in the hotbar. And now you can see that if I click on that, it'll automatically roll those dice for me. That is an absolute terrible attribute roll. We can also name this. If I right click on it, I can click on the little edit label and we can say roll ATTRIBUTES, something like that. And now we have a label on that. If we want to get rid of it, we simply click on it and click on the little clear slot and it's gone. You can put all kinds of things in these hotbars. You can put shortcuts to player sheets. You can put die rolls as we just showed. You can put initiative and things like that. Some warning, if you put initiative in there and then you level up your character and say your initiative actually goes up, level 4, you get a increase your dexterity and you actually get a +1. It does not increase this one down here. You would need to re-drag it down. So that is our hotbar. Coming around, we have this little guy right here. This triangle is to say how big this sidebar is. Right now it's showing the little down arrows, it's showing the tool, the words, and it's a set width there. If we click on this once, it will shrink it down to kind of abbreviated versions of everything and have our little bar only be 2 things wide. And then if we click it once more, we just get the first letter and our little bar turns into 1 wide. So it gives you quite a bit of real estate, which is really nice because before you actually had fairly large chunky buttons that were here, and if you were the GM you might have 2 wide, meaning you're losing some valuable desk space. We're going to leave it on the widest right now because it gives us the most information. So now going up, we have our different bars. So we can click the little arrows here and shrink and expand them. Or, well, I guess you could click on the name too. The name's kind of giving you stuff. These are your different tools, your combat tracker, your party sheet, your calendar. If you want to change the color of your dice, you just come in here, click on that. If we want to change the text color, we just click on that one. If we want to change the actual color, we can bring up this guy and say we want actual pure magenta 255, turn that to 0, and that's 255. If we want to mess with the alpha, their transparency level, you can see this will make them so they're more glass dice that you can see through. If I hit OK and then close that, although that's not really doing it, I'm not sure why. That's the intent behind it. Did I? Oh, maybe I hit OK. 79. Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure why the alpha part isn't working, But that's okay. What this will also do is like little dot, when you have your characters pop up, there will be a tiny little dot representing your character's color, which will actually be your die color, which will be used throughout different other screens to represent, like when you're moving your character or something, you'll see the little pink dot or magenta dot in this case. So that's that. We have our modifiers. So we have quick modifiers, kind of like this. So if it's an opportunity attack cover, this will do plus. This will give us a +2 or -2 depending on if it's the person attacking or defending. The superior cover, we have critical damage, which will automatically max out the thing if that's how you have it set up. We have max and half. We can create our own ones by simply clicking the little plus here, and then we can simply add our information that we need, like if it's a +4 modifier, make it so it's visible or not visible. And then, of course, if we click this guy, we can actually edit our list, delete it if we don't want that. The first time you click the delete button, it changes from a vertical little white line in there to a horizontal. That's kind of you're confirming you actually want to delete it, and then you click it again to actually delete it. Then we also have effects. So we have lighting effects. We can drag on our characters. So we can make it so they have a light like a candle, a torch, or something like that. A special light, a spell light. We can add that. We can, once again, add our own by clicking add. Then we can go in and put in the commands that actually do it. We might go into that later on, what those commands are and stuff. You can set how long they last, if it's a round, if it's a minute, if it's an hour, if it's a day, and how many, of course, 2 rounds or whatever. You can do that. You can drag the little effect onto a character, and it will actually apply that to the character. Let's go ahead and delete this one. So there you go. There's the vertical one saying this is how you delete it, and this is how you confirm the deletion. Next, we have the options. Now, this is actually going to be pretty big. It might be the last part we actually do because we're almost at 20 minutes and I want to keep these ran that long. So in our options, we have per user options, we have game options, we have combat options, we have token options, we have house rule options, and that is it. Now, if you have modules and stuff, they might add other option categories and sometimes add things in here. I just want to check real quick. I don't see the hit crit tables. So let's just kind of go through these really quick. If you mouse over, is this where you do it? Drag a hotkey. Drag to a hotkey. So we can actually set these options in here. So chat ring on whisper, this means it will, when someone whispers you, it'll make a little ding sound or something. Manual entry. So if your players do not want to use the digital dice here, they can actually do manual entry, and what it will do is it will pop up a little window saying what did you roll, and depending on what it was, it might already have modifiers in it, or they have the opportunity of typing in modifiers there themselves. You can also say that, if I have multiple targets selected, I have some kind of multi-target spell, and it misses, at the end of my turn, it will automatically unselect all those targets. So we have the option of multi, we have the option of off, and we have the option of on. So this would even do it if it's a single target. The default's multiple targets because usually you're not going to target multiple targets every time. Auto center map will bring the focus to your character. So if I have, when it's my turn, it will actually center on that character. Next, we have our game options. We have chat, set GM voice to active combat tracker. I'm trying to remember. I believe that this one actually will make it so as the GM, I forgot to mention these. Dang it. In the chat window, this is, I guess, as good as time as any. So if you are controlling multiple characters, you can actually change who you're talking as right here. So if I say hello, did I do that with 2 L's? You'll see it says GM. Now, if I had characters in the combat tracker or whatever, I could actually make it look like those characters are talking. Also, depending on your character sheet and what languages your character knows, you'll have options here that will only be the ones you actually know. So as GM, I could speak in Draconic and say, hey there. And all the players will see this, but only players that speak Draconic will see this part up here. So it kind of gives you an immersion into the game. I'm sorry, I forgot about that. And we'll actually go into more about commands and stuff like that in here at a later date. So that's what that's talking about. Show all whispers to the GM. If the GM's kind of nosy and doesn't want people whispering to each other without him knowing what they're talking about, then they can go ahead and turn that on so they can actually see all whispers no matter who's being said. Show GM rolls. This simply says that when the GM is rolling the dice, instead of showing little question marks or something, it will actually show players the GM rolls. Now, there is something you can do about this, is down here called the table dice tower. And we're going to talk about it in just a second because it's coming up. Then we have the show rule sets to the results to client, which is saying it will actually show results. So show GM rolls, technically it's not even going to show the dice rolling, I believe. This will make it so it's not going to show the results of a dice, unless they're friendly to the characters. So if I have an NPC that's friendly and they roll something, people that are friendly with that character will actually see it, or it's off or on. Next we have a party option inside the game that says show characters to clients. This is where players can actually double click on other players' characters, and I believe it's a read-only version, but they can actually see the character sheet. Generally that's off. Show inventory. This is kind of the same thing. It's showing inventory to players. And then we have the dice tower. Now I like the dice tower. I usually turn that on. And sometimes if you have I think it's this one, you won't see the dice tower until you turn on the show GM rolls. Now what the dice tower does, and we can move this by right clicking and doing that. I like to move it like over here. But let's go and lock that. What this does is if I roll out here, you can see that this is a regular roll. People can see it. If I roll in the dice tower and I have players roll in the dice tower, you'll see, you'll see here that there's this little eye icon showing that this is a hidden roll. Players do not see this roll. Now, the nice thing about that is if players roll in the dice tower, say for a skill check, they do not get to see their roll, which stops metagaming, which that is a thing I really like. So if I have a player rolling stealth or something like that, they don't roll a number, a 2 and go, yeah, I'm not stealth. I'm not gonna sneak up on anyone because I know I rolled terribly. So if they roll in the dice tower, then they do not know what they roll, and they're going to act as if they think they rolled as good as possible, which is what your character would actually do. So I really like the dice tower, but if you go turn on the dice tower and you don't see it appear, it's because you also have to turn on show GM rolls. If you turn that off, dice tower goes away. Now, of course, your players don't have to do that. That's just for the GM itself. In combat, we have ally health player display. So we can set it to detailed. I'm wondering if we want to do this in the next episode because I could have at least a character or two. We'll probably go into this a little later. But anyway, this will show detailed information as far as how bad the player is hurt. For other players, we can show just status where it will say bleeding or wounded or not feeling good or dead. Then we also have off, where it's not going to show players anything. Detailed usually fine for me because this is what players see for themselves. It's other players. The auto NPC initiative, so we can do group initiative, we can do off, and we can do on. Group initiative, when I do NPCs, it will automatically roll their initiative, and they will be the same initiative. It'll be grouped. If we say on or off, then it will either auto roll the initiative, I believe, when they're added the combat tracker, or it will not. I usually leave this on off, and then I just click on the little thing and say roll initiative for the enemies. Then we have this is saying, do I want my players actually to see the health of the enemy? So right now it's set to status. So the players will see, oh, he's wounded, or, heavily wounded, or something like that. Usually, to help stop metagaming, I like this to be off. Detailed would tell them exactly how many hit points it has. That definitely encourages metagaming. So I usually set that off, so it's kind of a surprise when they actually die. NPC numbering. This will, if I have like 15 goblins, this will actually put out it'll actually, when I add the goblins to the map or the combat tracker, it will say Goblin 1, Goblin 2, Goblin 3, Goblin 4, Goblin 5, so on and so forth. If it's just append, it will automatically stick that number on there. Random is really nice because it just grabs kind of a random number. So you might only have 5 goblins, but one of them might actually be called Goblin 12, which might freak out your players thinking, oh my gosh, there's 12 goblins here. And there's only 3 of us or something. Wound categories. This is technically this is whether, I believe, this one I'm drawing a blank on, to be honest. So wound categories, I believe, is kind of what it says, when the NPCs are wounded. And I think this is more for the GM saying, we get to see their health anyway. But I believe this is whether it's detailed information or simple information. I usually just leave that on simple. This next one is NPC role variable or fixed. This is saying on your NPC sheets, there's a thing that says this is the average, or are we actually rolling fixed values? So we can choose between variable or fixed. I think that might actually be fairly new. I'm trying to remember if I've never really set that. I don't do fixed. Fixed is generally, in a stat block, it will say, for example, it'll say health, and it'll say like 5, and then in parentheses it'll say 1d10 plus 2 or something like that. That's what this is talking about for other roles. So ring bell on turn. This will notify players when it's their turn. They'll get a little chime or something saying this is you need to play now. Token bar colors. This is basically, I believe, for your health. The standard is it's green when you're healthy, and kind of gradient turns red as you get unhealthy. Then we have tiered, which is the other one, which I think it doesn't gradient quite as much. I like the standard. And then show effects on notice. So this is saying when your character might have effects on it, so when it notifies you that it's your turn and stuff, it'll actually pop up any effects that are on your character. Where are we now? Show notices to players, so we can actually have it show those notices. That's obviously, we can have them see if friendly players are injured, all players, including NPCs, or we can turn that off. Default's friendly. Skip turn. skip dead on non-ally. So if mobs die, you haven't cleared them off the combat tracker, it will automatically skip dead non-ally players. So you can turn that on or off. Skip hidden actors. So if you have in the combat tracker things that are still hidden that you don't want the characters, the players to see, but when it becomes their turn, it will skip over those and go to the next visible actor when the turn comes up to it. So that can be hit or miss whether you want it, because you might want a hidden actor to actually do something, but you can do that, you know, just as the GM. You can move them around and stuff like that. Then turn stop at round start. So at the end of a round, when it goes back at the top, it basically, does Fantasy Grounds have a pause? I don't think it has a pause. Stop at round start. You know, I don't remember what this one actually does. That's bad on me. I'm gonna have to look that one up, because I don't remember exactly what that does, because I don't remember Fantasy Grounds actually having a pause. And I think we're going to go ahead and call it here, because we're at 30 minutes, and I definitely don't want to go much more than that. I'm going to look up some of these other things and make sure I remember what they are, because I'm kind of drawing some blanks here. And then we'll do the tokens and the house rules in the next episode and continue on our little sidebar stuff. So thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, be sure to leave a thumbs up down below. Aside from that, comment, like, and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter. Check out my Discord and my other channels. And don't forget to tell other people about my channel. Have them check it out. If they like what they see, they can sub. We grow the channel. I know I say it all the time, but it is. It's win-win. And that is it, my friends. Until next time, I'll be seeing you later. Bye.